Good morning, everybody. We are now streaming live on Facebook. Hi, I'm Mindy Tate, Executive Director of Franklin Tomorrow, and this is Frank Talks, our monthly Frank Talks lecture series. It's June 14th, in case you're wondering. I know a lot of us are trying to figure out the days now that summer's here. It's Flag Day. So if you're not already flying your flag at home or at your office, be sure and do that today for Flag Day. But we're going to have a great program today and talk a little bit about our City Hall on Wheels project that we often do. And let me just share my screen a little bit. And we're going to talk today about a little bit about projects and what's coming up. And we've got some great guests with us today. I'm going to run my program here, my slideshow. But first, I just want to say thank you to our sponsors, Williamson Medical Center and Renaissance Bank. And this morning we have with us from Williamson Medical Center, Nicole Volk. Nicole, tell us a little bit what's happening in your world.
Hi, everyone. Greetings from Williamson Medical Center campus on this warm summer day. Things are feeling much more back to normal here, which is great. And we, most of the week last week, did not have any COVID patients in the hospital, which was such a wonderful thing. And so, and we're really glad to start see people starting to come back for their regular checkups and their routine health care. We just encourage everyone to keep doing that. We've been very busy and we're very excited. That means that, people are taking care of themselves and coming back to their doctor's appointments. And then, we've appreciated the community support through this past, 16 months. And the one way the community can continue to support us even more is make sure you get your vaccines.
And that process has changed a little bit. The health department is working on that process, and I'm hearing that there are special clinics and different things like that. And then the vaccination will be moving to an area near the health department on West Main Street. So if you have any questions, call the health department, right?
That's right.
Great.
And a lot of pharmacies are giving out the vaccines too. So it's you can get them almost everywhere now.
That's great. That's great. Well, we appreciate you so much and thank you. And now you have a busy day ahead as well. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. So next on our program,
great to see everybody.
Thanks. Next on our program, we've got Tony Sharp from Renaissance Bank. And Tony, how are things on Columbia Avenue this morning?
They're beautiful and sunny right now.
It's pretty warm though, huh?
It is warm.
Well, I think you have a video so we can learn a little bit more about you, I think. We're going to learn a little bit more about you in this video, I think, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're doing a series on Meet the Bankers, so we'll have a couple over the next few months to share with you.
Well, let's see if I can make this work because technology is my friend. I admit it. I hope so. So I'm going to click and well, we'll see if we can make that happen. Hang on one second. There we go. Okay, here we go. Oops, sorry. Finish that. Oops, sorry.
That's all
It
right.
cut off. So Tony, how long have you been with Renaissance?
I've been with Renaissance Bank for 2 years now.
Great. So, and people can stop in, or people coming back in now, but you all have a lot of remote banking as well, right?
We do. And, kind of to piggyback on the vaccine, our entire staff's been vaccinated, which is great. So doors are open, smiling faces. We'd love to help you out. I know there's a lot of people doing renovation projects going on right now. We're seeing a lot of that happening to people's homes. So, we can help with the financing of that. We get a lot of requests for that right now. But yeah, we're glad to be partners with Frank Talks.
Right, thanks. And it's hard sometimes. There was audio on my side, and I know there wasn't audio on that, but when we posted to had audio on Facebook as well. So we appreciate that and hope you have a great day as well. And so now we've got Eric Stuckey, City Administrator, City of Franklin. Eric, a lot going on. Are you seeing what Tony just said about people coming in and getting permits for home improvements and different things like that as well?
Oh yeah,
We've got a lot of projects, but I bet people have a lot of projects.
We're seeing lots of activity, building activity, and just people in their homes, but also other activity. And actually, over the last 2 years, so full calendar years, 2019 and 2020, we saw nearly $1 billion of permitted development in Franklin alone. And one of the stories of the revaluation that just has taken place, the total assessed valuation for all of Williamson County is $64 billion. You roll the clock back 10 years ago, it was $32 billion. So it took us over 200 years to get the first $32 billion of investment in the community, and it took only 10 years to get the next 32 billion. So that tells you something about the level of activity and investment that we've seen in the last decade.
And people are actively coming to Franklin and wanting to be part of being in this community. And a lot of that is because of the great projects and what they're seeing in terms of amenities being added. And we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning, right?
Well, that's one of our challenges is having infrastructure where it needs to be to maintain quality of life, respond to the needs of a growing community. And that's why we try to do a lot of planning and put in place strategies to have the funds to make the investments in an appropriate way, both in terms of timing and how we balance what we issue debt for, what we pay cash for, how we work all those elements together. And our team has really worked diligently on doing that, and also on how you deliver the projects once they're approved and authorized. How do we get from the drawing board to having it actually operating and working and serving the community? And that's something we continue to work on as well.
Great. So you've got some guests with you this morning. Tell us who you have with us to update us this morning.
Well, we got two great members of our team. We've got Lisa Clayton, who is our Parks Director, and she'll be talking to you about Parks projects in a little bit here. And Paul Holzen, who is our Engineering Director and City Engineer, and he'll be talking to you about transportation and some other key projects there. So before we jump into projects, though, I'd like to spend a little bit of time just touching on what you can anticipate and see the balance of this year. And as I do that, let's hit the immediate. There's a lot going on this coming week. The community will be celebrating and recognizing Juneteenth. And there are a number of things going on. Really, to kick off on Friday morning at 10 a.m., we will do the official dedication of 2 street namings that have taken place. And our mayor and our board took the lead in doing this. And the road that we previously called 3rd Avenue Extension, which kind of runs right through Bicentennial Park, we've replaced that with a much better name. It's now going to be called Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. And really on just the west side of that same area where it intersects with 5th Avenue, on the other side of that, just north of Sonic, there will be a roadway that leads into the Hill, which will be redeveloped as a neighborhood. And that road will be called ANC Williams Way. So we're recognizing important African-American leaders, both locally and ANC Williams, and the great legacy that he left in the community. And of course, Martin Luther King, who is the leader of the civil rights movement of the 60s and the huge impact that has had on our world. So the board acted a couple meetings ago to rename those streets, and we'll be officially doing that this Friday at 10 a.m. And then on Saturday, Juneteenth celebrations, there'll be two different celebrations for one great event. There'll be the traditional African American Heritage Society event has had to move because they're doing renovations at the Macklemore House. So they are at Pinkerton Park, and that runs from noon to 3 o'clock. And at noon, near the end of the beginning of that event, they will have a dedication of a historic marker, honoring General Gordon Granger. You know, Fort Granger is his namesake, but General Granger also has an important legacy in the creation and the story of Juneteenth. He was serving in Galveston, Texas, as a general in the United States Army at that point, and in 1865 issued the proclamation that is the origin of the Juneteenth celebration. That's when he informed slaves in Texas that they were free. Even though the Emancipation Proclamation had been issued, nearly 2 years ahead of that, he informed them then, and that became the source, the genesis of the Juneteenth celebration. So General Granger has connections in Franklin and to the creation of Juneteenth. So that historic marker in Pinkerton Park will recognize that. And of course, you can access Fort Granger through Pinkerton Park. And also through Eddie Lane as well. So that's going on as part of the Juneteenth celebration. The African American Heritage Society event also includes a health fair and food and music going on at Pinkerton from noon to 3. And then on the square from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. will be just a celebration festival on the square with food and music and craft booths and all sorts of different things on the square to celebrate Juneteenth as well. And the Franklin Equity and Justice Coalition is part of sponsoring that. And a great time to come out, and you can go to both locations and get a great experience and celebrate Juneteenth and celebrate our community. So we welcome everybody to be part of that this coming weekend.
Very walkable between the two events as well. If you find a place to park, you can walk either from downtown to Pinkerton Park. There's sidewalks, yay.
Yes.
And a couple different ways into Pinkerton Park that are really beautiful, or park at Pinkerton and walk on down to downtown.
And Franklin Transit will be running a bus to help people too. If they don't want to walk, the transit bus will connect you to Fort Granger, to Pinkerton, and to the downtown square. So lots of activities going on, and hopefully folks can enjoy that. I know people have been looking forward to engaging and returning to more normal types of festivals, and we'll be able to do that with a new festival recognizing Juneteenth, a new festival on the square recognizing Juneteenth. African American Heritage Society has been celebrating Juneteenth in the community for many years. I think this is 17th or 18th year that they've had a specific commemoration on the Saturday closest to Juneteenth, and this year it happens to include Juneteenth, which is June 19th.
Right. So it's almost a new budget year for y'all. July 1 is the new budget year, and y'all been working on getting the budget and the tax rate through. So, but that means still there's a lot of projects that are continuing and ongoing, but what's coming up as we look at the last 6 months of 2021?
Yeah, let me touch on just a couple things operationally and just community activities, and then we'll jump in and talk about projects as well. We are working through the budget process. We've had 2 of our 3 votes so far. It is a balanced budget. There is no tax increase. In fact, because of revaluation, your tax rate will go down to about just over 32 cents, about a 9.15 cent reduction in your tax rate. Basically, because the value of your property goes up, we set the rate back down. So in actual dollars for the city, you will be paying roughly the same amount of dollars to the city, but your rate will be adjusted down to reflect the higher property value that the property assessor has determined for properties. So that's a process that happens every 5 years. The county is looking at changing that to every 4 years. That determination has not quite been finalized, but I believe that's the recommendation. We'll see how that goes. But again, it's a fully balanced budget, full services maintained in that budget. We restored some positions that we held during the pandemic because we had a lot of financial uncertainty. The good news is it was not nearly as bad as we had feared in terms of financial impact. So we've weathered that quite well and are ready to move forward with a vibrant, active city. And there's a lot to a budget that supports a vibrant and active city. And part of that is the activities that we talked about. Festivals are returning big time in terms of in the parks and in the community. July 4th will be a quote unquote normal July 4th. We'll have Franklin on the 4th during the day as a downtown festival. And then at Pinkerton in the evening, there'll be a concert there, music there, leading into the fireworks that we'll shoot off in the evening of July 4th at Pinkerton. So we're excited to have all that back to closer to normal, and should be great time for everybody to get together. Later in July, we have the Main Street Festival in the July timeframe. Of course, it's usually at the end of April, so it'll be in July this year. And Bluegrass along the Harpeth will also be in July. And then all the other fall festivals are as planned, kind of normal timing, et cetera. When you look at Pumpkin Fest and Pilgrimage will be out at Harlansdale. They've already sold over 3/4 of their tickets. So if you haven't gotten your Pilgrimage ticket, you might want to get on that because they're selling very, very well and look to be on track to be a sellout event. Of course, you'll have all sorts of other activities. We'll do our downtown parade for Veterans Day, which is always a great event, and Dickens of a Christmas later in the year too. So all of that's back on. Christmas tree lighting, all of those things that people love and look forward to, and thousands of people come out, and we're looking to how to accommodate those. And best thing people can do is, if you're not vaccinated, go ahead and get vaccinated. It's readily available, as Nicole talked about, at pharmacies, at the health department. You don't really even need an appointment. You can show up and get them at those places, or if you'd like an appointment, you can still do it. WilliamsonReady.org is a place where you can still schedule your vaccine through the health department and get that done. So urge you to do that. We've had a lot of our team members get it, and it's been great in terms of freeing them up to return closer to normal. And I'd urge everybody to strongly consider it in taking care of themselves and taking care of the community. So two other things I want to touch on, then we'll jump into projects if that's okay. A couple things to look forward to that will happen also later in the year. Citizen survey, which we do every 2 years. That will happen a little later this year. So that's an important time for you to give us your feedback. And so go ahead and look forward to that. We don't have the exact timing on that yet, but we will do it like we did the last time, which is there's a random survey that is selected through a random process, and we ask people to give us feedback on that. But then we also open it up for all citizens to take the same survey. So we see the results from both the randomly selected group and people that chose to do the survey themselves. And that'll be open for several weeks for people to give us feedback. Again, that'll be later in the year. Stay tuned for that. The other thing that has started, and it won't start formally probably till the beginning of next year, but the county is in the process of initiating an update to the county growth plan. And that hasn't been done since the end of last century. 22 years ago, the original urban growth boundaries and all of that were set up. Obviously, there's been a lot of change, a lot of growth, and that is due to be updated. And so the county is in the process of initiating that update, where we'll re-examine some of the growth policies, the structure of the urban growth boundaries themselves. The cities and the county working together, looking at those, will take place, and there'll be opportunity for public input on that along the way as well. And that is just getting underway. And there'll be some lead up to the formal process, which again won't start till the beginning of next year, but there will be some community input leading into it, because there'll be some some drafting of documents and collecting of information and data that will be helpful and influential in setting the groundwork for that. So each city will do their own process. We will probably use a hybrid of online and survey type things, but also in-person public meetings and input that way as well. So stay tuned. Those are two things that are coming up that have important impact in engaging our community and getting their feedback. A couple other things are going on right now, that same avenue in terms of getting public feedback. We're updating the historic guidelines. So if you'd like to give us input on that, just go to franklintn.gov and you can take that survey. And one of the projects we will talk about a little later on is City Hall. And there's still the opportunity to give us input on that. That public process is just getting underway. But one of the capital projects is to build a new city hall at the same location where we are today on the square. And we want public input in helping shape that as we're in the preliminary design and planning, master planning process. So we'll talk a little more about that project a little later on, but that is an opportunity for folks to do that. They can go to the city website on that as well, or go to completethesquare.com with dashes between the words, completethesquare.com, and you can get information about that process, take a survey, and see the virtual living room. We called it living room conversation, kind of community dialogue that we had there, and there'll be more of those to come through the balance of this year and into next year. So that really covers some big things. Again, more of a return to normal, lots of activity, and we're thrilled to be back in that mode after close to a year and a half of having to do a lot of workarounds and alternatives. And our team and our community did a fabulous job, but we're all about connecting with the community and serving the community. And that's best done in person and through these other avenues. And we're glad to be back closer to that approach than where we've had to do virtual meetings like this. And we'll be thrilled to see Frank Talks back in person here soon too.
Yeah, we're very excited then, and we'll be back in person starting with our July 12th event. And we are pleased to be using the Eastern Flank Battlefield Park Clubhouse as our home base for 2021. Normally we move around the city, but we have determined it'd be best for us to be in one location for the rest of the year. And so we're going to be at Eastern Flank Battlefield Park and rent that space for those Frank Talks on the second Monday of the month. And we are going to go back to our original format of 9 a.m. coffee. So coffee between 9 and 9:30, and then the program starting at 9:30. So we're excited to be back in person as well.
Great.
And we have a huge event at the end of July. We'll do our Breakfast with the Mayors, and that will be the Williamson County Mayoral Summit. And so we're excited that all the mayors of Williamson County have accepted to be part of that. And there's new mayors, there's new faces that'll be on the stage coming up on July 27th. So
well, that is great to see. If you're ready, we can jump into talking about projects.
Sure.
And we'll start with parks. There's a lot of interest there, but what we do overall is we do a capital investment project plan, and that capital project plan includes a 10-year outlook. So we look 10 years out of what we think we can deliver in terms of projects. And what you'll hear about today are really probably the more high profile and projects that are closer to the horizon, but we'll walk through those. We've been doing some updates with the board over the last several months, and this will be sort of a more of a Reader's Digest or a shortened version of those important projects and where we are with those. So we'll start with parks, and then we'll go to transportation and some other projects after that, and then we'll finish it up. So Lisa, take it away.
Well, good morning. Thank you. And we appreciate so much to being invited and share what we have going on. So as Mindy said, Frank Talks comes in July. And so you're going to get to see parks again. For those that may not be familiar, July is National Parks and Recreation Month. And so with our counterparts in Williamson County, we're going to be able to share, you won't just hear from me, but you'll hear from members of my team to share what's going on. What are the different things we have within the community? And so we're very excited to be part of that in July. So I'm going to take you through, Mindy, if you'll bring up the PowerPoint, and I'm going to take you through 5 projects that we have going on. And from there, I'll kind of get started as she's bringing that up. And the first will be is the Southeast Municipal Complex. Next slide, please, right there. So thank you, is LEG's Dream World. So if you haven't been out on Carruthers lately, if you're headed toward Ladd Park or Water's Edge or just going to the Ag Center that way, it's a beautiful drive, but at the same time, this is a 233-acre park that it would be on your left between you and the interstate on Carruthers. And you'd see a bridge actually going in. You'll see constructions. It's Paul Holzen, who's my counterpart on here today. As he gets excited about orange cones, we get excited about park projects. And so we're both very excited about construction taking place. But I wanted to share this slide because it's so important. Mindy's leadership in Franklin Tomorrow and many of Franklin Tomorrow's board members and those in the community, they have been working on an inclusive playground in our community for at least 5 to 7 years. So here is, we're going to house this particular project at Southeast. This is over a $3 million project. It will be named LEG's Dream World. And it's so important because this summer we will launch a public-private initiative that will be coming. And so we'd love to come back. And I know Mindy's going to be a part of that and others within our community. And we're going to share how you can be a part of it. As you've seen on the news lately, Gallatin, Hendersonville, Murfreesboro, it is so important to have for our families and our citizens places to go at any time. And this will allow for anybody and everybody to play together. And so, again, we'll be, this is around a $3 million project. The partnership will be a $1.5 million initiative. The city is going to match that with half that funding. And this will be, you'll see that as part of the overall Southeast project that will be finalized and designed this year and will go to construction by next year. Next slide, please.
Lisa, just to mention, Friends of Franklin Parks will be our fundraising agent and lead agent on this project, and we're really excited to work with them and get ready to kick this off very soon.
Thank you. You're exactly right. There's so many people, and again, Tori Barnhill, Executive Director of Friends of Franklin Parks, they're going to work with us to take on that public-private partnership, and so many people have been involved in this, and this is just going to be an amazing place, just an experience in itself. Next slide. The next slide is also part of the Southeast Park area. It is Robertson Lake. In this particular project actually was a lake in this area. It was known as Robertson Lake. It was a farm pond for many years. And the overall goal is that we'll have walking trails around this lake. It'll be an open space event area for HOAs or the public to come out. It's just going to be a wonderful place to have with water. However, I wanted to share, and the reason I bring this one up, it's not as pretty of a picture as is the LEG's Dream World. However, during the last few months when we had the last flood, this entire property went underwater. And so what's important is to know that this was a farm pond, and there was a man-made dam, and so it began to break, and the mortar and other areas, and so we've got the dam is beginning to leak. We're going to go ahead and start looking at what it takes to what we're calling is a siphon project. We're going to go ahead and begin to working with TWRA in our engineering department and our consultants. We're going to begin to lower the level of the water. We're going to transfer some of those fish that are currently there into the Harpeth River. We're also going to relocate it to Harlansdale, maybe even Jim Warren if they'll transport that far. But we're also looking at other locations. What we also understand, though, is not every fish is you want to save. In Middle Tennessee, and it excludes this area as well, you've got Asian carp, you've got some invasive species. Those are the things that we actually want to get rid of as we lower that pond area. So we're working with individuals in our department that we're just going to be such an effort, but you're going to see some work take place in the next month on this property. And so that's the reason if you go out on the property, you're going to see no fishing, no canoeing or kayaking, as we allowed for that as we were under design. But we've also got about a half of I have a dozen depression areas on the property. Now, it's not what we call a sinkhole in a city, because Lord, those are usually larger, but they are depressions within the property that have developed after that flood, even more so. So we are just kind of roping that area off. We'll begin to take over and do some construction, but I just want people to around the area to know what's coming. Next slide. So the next slide you'll see in just a second is Harlansdale Barn. So this is a complete rehab of the barn that we've been working very closely in our community. It's been part of a master plan for over 20 years, and it will be an event facility. It'll also be educational facility. Half of the barn will be for still have a horses, but other half will be for an event venue that you could rent the barn out, or if you wanted to, you could utilize it in different ways. The other picture, you see the barn. So we're around 90% complete on that project. We will start the review process. In fact, next week, the Historical Zoning Commission will do a site visit on the site. Not only will they look at this farm, they're going to look at the Hayes home. We've got a bridge project that undergo on the property as well that would connect Harlansdale through Chestnut Bend Trail System. So there's a lot that we want to be able to share with that commission, because this is a national treasure within our community. And so going through that commission is very important. In the second picture, you'll see a little bit of some parking areas and that type of thing. That'll be another phase of this project. In fact, a lot of people ask me, well, Lisa, why are adding another parking tray to that historical property? Well, this is part of the original master plan. We had 2 parking trays back in 2005 when we did the 50-year master plan. So as you develop the campus and you create and rehab all of the structures, the need for ADA accessible parking and those kind of things increases on the property. And so that allows for us to see. We'll finish that design this year, bid the project, and it will take close to around 9 months for construction. Next project. The next project is Liberty Park. So this is in the Cool Springs area. We purchased this property back in 2000, 85 acres. And what you're seeing on the screen is the most up-to-date master plan. We're able to do 3D renderings so that you can inlay what's the new will be into the existing. Currently there's 3, if you've played baseball in our community, you played at Liberty Park. And we also have a dog park there and playground. The goal is to add to that park. And so as the board has approved the master plan this year, we will now go into the first phase of design. And that'll take around 6 to 9 months to do the design, and then we'll go into bid and construction. The first phase, you'll see a multi-purpose field, which is that large round field that's there. You'll see we've got an upgrowing sport in our community, cricket. So we're building some cages for that, but you also see pickleball and tennis that'll come in probably in a phase 2. We're going to add a shelter for our farmers market, pavilion. We're also going to add pavilion and public restrooms, and add to, believe it or not, we don't have a lot of basketball courts in our community. So we're going to add some basketball courts here so that we can do pickup ball games here for those that are surrounding and expand our mountain biking trail. So very excited. Within a couple of years, that project will be underway in that part of our community. And finally, let's talk about Bicentennial. We are at close to 95% complete on our design. In fact, this afternoon, we go before with the consultants to the Historic Zoning Commission for approval, for our certificate of approval for this property. So with this, we will then go through the Planning Commission, our design process for approval as a city project, and go to construction. So we will hopefully bid this project this year and go to construction by next year. So it'll take a full year to do construction. The area where it has the parking is to the right in that picture. That will be a phase 2 for this project. We will not do that in this particular phase. We use that area right now for parking, as you'll see it for Pilgrimage or Main Street Festival or different things. We're able to do grass parking, but we're evaluating with other departments when does it make sense to do some paid parking. This isn't a floodway. And so what makes sense in certain areas of our city. And this is actually one example we're utilizing through that conversation. So anyway, over the next couple of years, all of the projects that I brought forth, you're going to see under construction. And we're so happy that we're excited to bring this to you and hopefully open very soon.
So we've had somebody put something in the chat, and I'm supposed to ask each of you with a sneaky grin, which of these is your favorite?
Ooh.
It's like
my
having your
goodness.
favorite child or something, I guess. I'm not sure.
That would be like choosing the favorite one out of like 7 kids. So I'm not going to do that. But I will say again, and everyone's heard me say this throughout our community, my goal is before I retire, and I started very young, is to have Bicentennial Park completed. It's going to, for me, it kind of rounds out our downtown. We have such a vibrant downtown, and it will add so much. But again, every one of these projects has such either historic or significance or just a significance to our community and our citizens. So please don't ask me to choose, but Bicentennial at this moment might be on the way.
Is that, it's not going to be the Sesquicentennial Park be renamed or anything, right? Since our bicentennial was 1999, not just saying.
I really don't care if we rename it or not. As long as it's done, we're gonna ribbon cut that sucker soon.
When you see so many people living in downtown Franklin, I mean, it does make it important because they can't access Pinkerton Park, but it does make it important, right, Eric?
Oh, it's so important. And all of these, that's why it's impossible to pick one, because they really do fit together, because we've got trail projects that connect neighborhoods to parks, the pedestrian bridge that'll connect into the trail system, into Harlansdale, what Bicentennial will bring. All of these are just such great projects, and the transportation projects that link it all together and provide capacity. And when we do transportation projects, we try to look at pedestrian and bike capacity and facilities as well. Everywhere we put a trail, our community embraces it and uses it. So that's the other part of it too. So all of these fit together. People are hungry. And that's one of the things we saw in the pandemic, is how much people valued the park amenities that we have and how they want us to continue to provide and build on those. And so that's what I think you see with what Lisa's doing, that Southeast Park. There's so much to that. It's like if you took Jim Warren and Pinkerton and put them together, made them even larger and put them together in one location, because you've got the passive park on the north and the active park with the athletic fields and the inclusive playground and other activities for folks there. It's just, I mean, those are just so exciting, and they are transformational for what the community needs. And as we grow, we need to provide these kind of amenities at the highest level we can, because that's what the community expects and deserves.
Well, Eric, I know you're a big baseball fan, and I know Lisa loves baseball too. Any truth to the rumor that the MLB stadium could be in the Cool Springs area there, where there's a mall currently?
That team is looking all over the region. Let's just put it that way. So, and I've been in a role where we built a stadium for a Major League Baseball team in Cincinnati, and it's a great experience. But there's a lot of other things we have that are, quite frankly, higher on our priority list in terms of any use of public dollars. I don't see that being anything we do, but there are obviously a lot of attractive sites in this area, and you never know what a group like that will end up honing in on the best fit for them. Typically you think of a downtown model as being the best for that type of thing. So that would push you towards Nashville and kind of, you think where Nissan Stadium is in that kind of area. But you never know. There are other models that you see in other places too. So they're working on it, but it's not a priority for us. Let's put it that way.
One last question, Lisa. Your team does such a great job when there are events in the parks and projects and people coming, whether it's pilgrimage or 4th of July. How many people do you expect for 4th of July? How do you plan for that, and what's the secret?
Well, I don't know if there's a secret. It takes years to kind of look at that model, but we average over 10,000. We do counters in our parks so that we understand traffic. That's very important from not only a traffic control, but how we manage a program. So we believe that we will have 10 to 12,000 on the property this year for 4th of July.
At
Again,
Harlansdale, is that
at
where it's
Harlansdale.
Mhm.
Yeah, at Harlansdale. So we will close the park the night before in order so that make sure that people don't get the best spot right off the bat, because people love to come out. And over the last few years, what we've learned is if not, people will camp all day long, and it makes it a little hard to maximize the amount we need to get in. So again, we'll have some live music just right before the fireworks that evening, and we'll open the gates probably by 5:30, 6 o'clock. We'll be making more of those announcements, but we'll shoot the fireworks and come out and enjoy. You can social distance at Harlansdale, and it makes it for a wonderful area, as well as being in our downtown for the Lions Club, the 4th of July festivities. That's always so important, and then walk down later on.
All right. Thanks so much. Eric, back to you.
So many great things. And Lisa just gave you a sampling. There are other things going on in terms of trails and connections. And we talked about baseball. We're doing a partnership with Franklin Special School District to update and redo the baseball and softball fields at the Freedom Middle and Poplar Grove campus. I mean, there's just so many great things. And that's a partnership I think we're really proud of too, in terms of working together. And so you'll see that evolve too in the next year or two. So great work, Lisa. And now it's Paul's turn. He's going to talk transportation. As we see a return to activity, we see a return to traffic and questions about traffic and parking and those kind of things, which are things we've been working hard on things to help provide capacity there. But it is part of having a vibrant town and just a humming local economy that you have some of these things. So we see them as signs of a healthy city, but also things that we are working on long-term strategies to provide better capacity and address those needs. So Paul's going to walk through some highlights on the infrastructure side, and we'll go from there. So take it away, Paul.
All right, well, thank you, Eric, and good morning, everybody. As Lisa said, I get very excited when I start seeing orange cones and barrels go up around town, because it's a huge amount of work to deliver a capital project. And I tell people, even though we're widening and building a lot of roadways, a lot of times these are big infrastructure projects with a roadway on top of them. And it takes a large city team to help deliver these, from public works to engineers to consultants, to try to get it right and help deliver these from start to finish. So a lot of work goes in on this, and we have a lot of help. Let me see if I can share my screen. And you should be able to see my screen now. So I'll walk you through the various capital projects that we have going on as it relates to transportation. So one that's under construction right now is we're building a multi-use trail along Highway 96. It's from Veer Valley Drive to Fifth Avenue. It's going to be a 12-foot wide multi-purpose trail, and it will really, now it's going to connect all the way from the new MacAtcher all the way into downtown. We've actually received federal funding for this project in the amount of $1.8 million. And again, it's while it just looks like it's a trail at the end of the day, we're having to upgrade and relocate water lines. We're having to upgrade, relocate gas mains, and we're also working with overhead power to relocate poles as needed. So very exciting project. Final completion, we're looking at let's see here, September of 2022. I'm sorry. Final completion date is January of 2022. My apologies.
So pretty much by the end of this year, you should see this project complete.
End of this year, yep. Next project everyone knows about is Franklin Road. Again, this is a huge infrastructure project. We're upgrading all the water, all the sanitary sewer, all the gas lines. We're working with Middle Tennessee Electric and all the different fiber providers out there to underground. But it really goes from the Harpeth River Bridge to Harlansdale to Hooper Lane. And again, this project is expected to be completed in September of 2022. And we're working really hard to get that project completed. Next one is one
Paul,
that's
real quick before you go on that one. That's an interesting project in that we've provided an incentive for the contractor to expedite the project. Just talk about that real quick.
So what we've done with this project is really we put a realistic time frame to get the project completed, which was 2 years. We really wanted to get it done in 18 months. So we've incentivized the contractor by putting a bonus on the project, hoping that they can get it done 6 months early, offering up to $500,000 in incentives, which benefits everybody, helps us get the project completed quicker and faster. It gets traffic moving. So we've offered that incentive. The contractor is working extremely hard to get it. And it's really, the final amount is calculated based on the number of days that they complete the project early. So it's something we're trying new with our projects, again, to ensure that we can deliver them faster than anticipated and really incentivize the contractors to put as many people and forces on our jobs as possible. The next project is we're doing an interchange modification project at McEwen with a lot of the different office buildings that have been going up there and the different developments happening. We wanted to open up an additional left turn lane at the interchange. This is 100% funded by the city of Franklin, and this is under construction now. Again, we hope to have this project completed by January of 2022. This is another big project. This is probably one of the biggest roadway projects we've ever done here with city staff, is the McEwen project. It's going to widen McEwen from Cool Springs Boulevard all the way to Wilson Pike. It'll be a 4-lane median divided roadway. This is an extremely complicated project in the fact that we're dropping some of the existing grades down 20 feet, which makes it really challenging to keep existing utilities in service. But we're working with Mill Crofton, City of Franklin Sanitary Sewer, Atmos Gas, and electric, and some of the fiber providers to make sure that we phase this project. We anticipate this project being a 3-year project, mainly because we almost have to build a roadway with new utilities to allow us to build the final roadway. So it's a very complicated project. We're in the right-of-way acquisition phase. We hope to be finishing up right-of-way acquisition in the next 6 months and be able to move into it's really already, the design's already complete, but with the federal and state funding that we're getting, we would then have to go through the state process to obtain approval on final completion of the design, and then move into the bidding process in the fall of 2022.
Isn't this, some of this adjoins the city of Brentwood as well, right?
This one is 100% funded by federal funding in the city of Franklin. There's another project that goes into Brentwood that is joint funded, and I'll highlight that project here in a minute. So Jordan Road, this is another priority project. This is really a rural roadway in downtown, in the Cool Springs area. If you ever drive it right now, it's like 10-foot lanes. It's really outdated, has some safety issues, and there's a ton of development going on here. So right now we're at the phase where the design's complete, the utilities design's complete, and we're actually doing appraisals right now to acquire right-of-way and look to hopefully finish up the right-of-way acquisition process in 2022. We have some bridge projects going on. This is one of the few bridge projects that we have that there's actually a weight limit on this bridge. And again, this is another area we're seeing a ton of development. We have the Lampo Group that just built their headquarters out here as part of Berry Farms, Reams Fleming. And this bridge is needing to be upgraded to accommodate future traffic. So we're in the process of acquiring right-of-way to upgrade this bridge. West Main Bridge, this is another bridge that we have a lot of pedestrian traffic in this area, but right now the bridge does not accommodate peds, so they're having to walk in the roadway. And I was in shock when we actually did pedestrian counts out there. So the number of people that are walking back and forth on this roadway that has no shoulder, and they're having to walk in the travel lanes. And so this is another project our board funded, was essentially widen this bridge to accommodate the high volume of pedestrian activity that we have here. So Columbia Avenue, this project is another high priority project. It's actually funded 100% by the feds and the state of Tennessee, TDOT, but it's a locally managed project. So the city of Franklin is managing this entire project. Again, this is a huge infrastructure job. We're having to relocate and upsize water, sanitary sewer, reclaimed water, gas, and we're having to relocate all the overhead utilities, which is an extremely difficult task. But eventually this will be a 5-lane roadway. We do have some medians proposed where we could actually get the medians in. We have those medians included. Right now, we're estimating the total project to be about $40 million. And right now, we're in the process of getting ready to do appraisals and advertise to get appraisers on board to help us start the right-of-way acquisition process. Next one, this is one of our board's priority projects, is the Long Lane Overpass. Everybody remembers when the Goose Creek Bridge went down and the disruption that it caused. So this is a great project that'll provide connectivity in the Goose Creek area, and we'll extend Long Lane over the interstate over to Paytonsville Road, and it'll almost be like a Baker's Bridge in the southern portion of the city. And Goose Creek Bypass right now has 7 traffic signals on it. So this will be a great alternative to provide relief to the interchange and allow people to get across the interstate. Estimated cost on this project's around $36 million. We're right now still working on the preliminary engineering phase, which is pretty much done. The part that's not done is working on all the utilities. Again, you can look at this list of utilities and it just shows how complicated it is to deliver some of these projects. So another priority project is an example of us trying to keep up with development. Again, with all the development proposed on Carruthers Parkway and Mallory Lane, this project was identified pretty quickly as a needed improvement. And this is at Mallory Lane and North Royal Oaks and Liberty Pike intersection. We looked at multiple options here, from large intersections to roundabouts. Ultimately, what got selected was to do 2 dual lane roundabouts. The estimated cost right now is around $17 million to do this project. Again, probably the biggest challenge with this job is going to be to figure out how to reduce disruption to traffic and phase the utilities. Building the roadway will be the easy part. But right now we're in the process of trying to figure out the utilities. The design of the road preliminarily is done and alignments are set. But now we just got to figure out how to phase it and deliver utilities. And then we can move into the right-of-way acquisition phase.
Paul, someone asked, there are no roundabouts on the Columbia Avenue project, right?
That is correct. Just like all projects, we usually try to look at 2 or 3 different options and we bring them forward to our board to make a decision. We also generally will engage as many stakeholders as possible along a corridor. And we did look at roundabouts on Columbia Avenue, but ultimately what was selected was more of a 5-lane typical section. We are putting some medians in that, and essentially we're putting medians in where it's feasible. So Main Street, this one's been discussed at the board level multiple times now. This project started off as doing a simple Main Street upgrade to replace a lot of the pavers that are all worn and outdated. And generally speaking, our street department is spending a ton of money on just maintenance of those pavers, from having to uninstall them and reinstall them because they settle and they create ADA issues. So looking at how much funding they're spending per year really brought this project forward as we can come in here, replace those pavers and do a better job with it to reduce that annual funding that they're having to spend, in addition to upgrade the pavers that are really outdated. And so right now there's a lot of discussion with what the scope of this project is. It's kind of grown from just simply replacing pavers to looking at different options. And so we're working through that project right now, but the intent is to go block by block and minimize disruption to the downtown business owners and upgrade the streetscape block by block as we move forward and try to bite one off every fiscal year. Next project is a multi-use trail along Lewisburg Pike. This is one that's been asked for many years. Ultimately, Mac Hatcher will have a multi-use trail and it will provide a great pedestrian connectivity from Mac Hatcher into the downtown area. Obviously, it goes past our park system, which is another great amenity. And so right now we're in the design phase of this. I would anticipate us trying to look for federal and state funding to assist in the construction of it. Right now, we're estimating it at about $12 million, and we're still working on the phasing of it. Right now, we're planning to design all the way to Mac Hatcher, but the final phasing of what we actually go to construction with is still to be determined, and we'll work with our board on that as we get farther with the design.
And it goes by my house, so I'm pretty excited about that. And all the people who walk along there or ride their bikes, I know this will be a great thing for them as well.
Next project, and Mindy talked about this earlier, is we call it McEwen Phase 5, but it's really McEwen Drive from Wilson Pike to the city of Franklin limits. And this is a partnership between the city of Franklin and the city of Brentwood with a funding split based on proportionate share of the number of acres that would ultimately benefit from this roadway coming in. And Brentwood's actually looking at extending it past our city limits and working together with us. A very complicated project. There's some major gas lines that we're going to have to upgrade here. And the timing of actual construction is still up in the air. It's really in Brentwood's hands as to when we move forward with it, but we're working hand in hand with the city of Brentwood to get the design complete and look at how we move into the right-of-way acquisition phase. Ultimately, it's going to be a 4-lane median divided roadway. Initially, we're looking at building 2 out of the 4 lanes. Another project is right in our downtown is an upgrade to Church Street. And really what drives a lot of the downtown projects is infrastructure. A lot of the infrastructure is very old and it's outdated. And so this project really came around because our water and sewer department needed to upgrade all their utilities, and we're pretty much going to destroy the street in the process. In addition to that, Atmos Gas has told us for years that they need to upgrade their infrastructure. So we try really hard to work with our utility partners as to when they need to do their upgrades and to time our roadway projects with that. So knowing that the street is going to get totally destroyed, we thought it was best to bring this forward as a project to ensure that we add sidewalks and fix the curb and gutter and do it more as a roadway project and upgrade the utilities in the process. In addition, a lot of areas in our downtown area don't have adequate storm drainage, so we're going to upgrade the storm drainage to help this area of the city as well. So estimated cost is around $13 million on this project. Some other projects that we've not started design on, but the board did vote them as priority. We're looking at starting these more towards 2025 is Carlisle Lane. With Mac Hatcher getting completed, there's going to be a significant increase in traffic in this area. Also, Williamson County Animal Shelters, animal control facilities building out here, and there's other multiple residential areas that are building out here. So this is one that's on our radar to keep watching and knowing that we're going to need to upgrade this road in the near future. This is another project. This is going to be the gap in pedestrian connectivity along Mac Hatcher. The new Mac Hatcher project, I'm very, very excited to say that that's going to be completed in November of 2021. Built a multi-use trail from about this point all the way over to West Haven. And so that leaves this one red gap in the multi-use trail. So it's a project that we'd like to start the design on. And again, we're going to try to target federal funding to help us fund this project. And we think that's really achievable. And then that'll give us a great pedestrian walkway around the majority of Mac Hatcher Parkway. So again, out in the Paytonsville area, this is another project that's coming in 2025 is about when we're projecting to start the design of this. There's a ton of development potential and pressure in the Goose Creek area. And so this is to really fix the curve and to upgrade these roadways to handle the traffic that's needed out there. Is another project that, there's a good potential that as big development comes out here, we could find a good partner to help us deliver this project quicker and faster. And we generally do rely heavily on development to help fund our infrastructure and help us build our infrastructure. And we really try to do that in conjunction with the development so that it happens at the exact same time. So 2 more projects, I'm going to let Eric talk about them, is the new City Hall, and then I was going to let him touch on our new fire station.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this before. This is to redevelop the current site we're on. We've been temporarily reusing the old mall as City Hall since 1981. So it's been 40 years of this arrangement, and the facility just doesn't meet the needs overall, and it is really well past its active useful life. So we're looking at a multi-story City Hall that looks and feels and fits the character of the downtown square. One of the things we're looking at is the specifics of integrating parking with it. One of the things that had also been identified in the capital investment program was a need for additional structured parking in downtown. So we may be able to do both of those as part of this. We're still gathering input from the community and looking at what our needs are for our staff team, long-term community needs for meeting space, all of those to best describe the master plan. And then from there, we will have a better concept of the true cost of this project. You see what was allocated in the plan, but it's likely going to be higher than that. And we'll need to look at all those elements together and how they fit. And again, we're seeking community input and guidance on that. You can go to completethesquare.com and give us your input, and there'll be other additional opportunities through the fall and into next year to get citizen input as we are kind of shaping what this can look like. So let's go on to the next one, Paul. Fire Station 7 is actually open and operating. It is a joint project where we've got both Franklin Fire and the Williamson County paramedics co-located at the same site. It is a similar design to what you see at Fire Station 8 at West Haven. And in early May, we went in and have that fully occupied and operational. And so we're excited to have that, and serves that growth area in the southeast well of both the city and into the county with the paramedic services there as well. So we're really thrilled to have that in place. The one other thing I'll mention that we don't have a slide for, and I see somebody just asked the location. It is down just south of the Ag Center. It is right there in the Goose Creek area. And in fact, we worked out with the county to obtain that property in the southern end of the Ag Center for the fire station. And we're able to connect the Ag Center to our sewer system. And so that really benefited everybody. So that's where that's located and helps serve the southeast area. The last one I'll mention is a project that's well underway, about a year from completion, and that is our water reclamation facility or wastewater treatment plant. That is a $150 million project, the largest in our history. It increases our capacity, but also updates our technology to maintain the high level of treatment that we provide with additional nutrient removal and also a solids processing component at the end of the process. So we'll move from 12 million gallons a day to 16 million gallons a day capacity. So those are all incredibly important projects, and excited to give you an update as we move along.
So someone just asked Eric if these projects are all budgeted or proposed. And so you all do a lot of budget visioning and financial visioning to look forward and management of debt. So it's sort of a balance of the two, correct?
Yeah, these are fully funded projects. Everything we showed you are high priority projects and funded. What we do is the board prioritizes, and as we're doing that prioritization, we do a financial plan with it. And this group of projects, the 10-year plan that we're working on right now, is probably about 55% paid for by cash resources and about 45% paid for with debt. So it's a little higher on the pay-as-you-go than with debt issuance. And we moved from about 50-50 to a little higher on the pay-as-you-go or the cash side. So we do look at that, and we try to, we have some fees that we collect with development impact fees that help pay the way. Parkland is an example, road impact is an example, facilities tax. All of those help us pay and not have to issue debt. And we think we've struck a pretty good balance there with this capital plan.
Well, Eric, I know if someone asks you your favorite, water reclamation could be right up there with a new park, I'm thinking.
They are critically important, and that's why they were all high priorities. So we're excited to deliver them for the community. They're challenging, as Paul said. They're complex, they're difficult, they're really big team efforts to get it all figured out, to do it right. And we're excited to be delivering them to the community.
Well, we appreciate y'all this morning being with us and helping to explain some of these projects that are going on and everything. And we will just remind people that right now in July, a lot of people will have the chance to renew the historic Franklin license plate because it's the anniversary of that coming out. And so we'd encourage people to please maintain those license plates. And then just to remind you of some of these dates that Eric mentioned and some that I've mentioned, our next Frank Talks will be July 12th in person at Eastern Flank Park Clubhouse. This Saturday is Juneteenth in downtown Franklin at Pinkerton Park and on the downtown square. July 4th is Franklin on the 4th in downtown Franklin at Harlansdale Park. July 17th and 18th is the Main Street Festival in downtown Franklin. It's going to be hot, but we're gonna give it a go. And July 27th will be our Breakfast with the Mayors in person at Rolling Hills Community Church for the Williamson County Mayoral Summit. But thank you so much to all of you, Paul, Lisa, and Eric, for sharing today. And if people have questions, your email addresses are on the website and they can reach out and ask you a question about a specific project or timing.
And there's also a thing on our website that allows you to look at every individual project and see these kind of updates. So you just click on a map and you can click on projects and get an update yourself anytime.
And on that July 12th, Frank Talks, it'll be at Eastern Flank. We're going to be talking about the great outdoors, and Lisa will be back and her team will be back to talk a little bit about more how to use the great parks and facilities we have, along with hopefully some of our friends from Williamson County Parks and Rec who will talk about some of the facilities that complement the City of Franklin parks in our area. So we are so excited and we so appreciate everyone's time. Go out and have a great day. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.